going to be recording this and sharing my screen with you. And the topic this evening is deceptive play, some examples of deceptive play by declarer. And sometimes it's not necessarily that deceptive, but just giving the opportunity for the opponents to go wrong. Before we actually talk too much about deceptive play, I should just mention, if you're watching this video afterwards on YouTube and you'd like to join these lessons, just send me an email to that address on the screen and I'll add you to these weekly free lessons. But before we get on to deceptive play as such, I just want to recap what we should know about third hand play. Third hand play refers to a situation where your partner leads a suit and you're a defender, and it's normal for you to play third hand high. And if you have two or more equal cards, you play the lower one of those, or the lowest of three equal cards. I'll just give you some examples of that, see what we mean. So, a simple example here. Your partner leads a six of spades against three no trumps. Dummy's got the 7-4-2. And of course, whichever spade is played from dummy, you should play the king. You should play the third hand high to try to help your partner establish that suit. They've led the suit for a reason, and that's a straightforward example of playing third hand high. If I had the king and the queen, then you should play the queen. So you play the bottom of two touching honors in that situation, not the king, but the queen. And if you happen to have, say, three cards, like the queen, jack, 10, then you play the bottom of those. You play the 10 there. It's a mistake, an error to play the the queen or the jack there. And we'll look at some examples of how your partner can make use of that information. So let's look at a situation where you're on lead and you lead the six of spades from king 10 8 6. Dummy comes down with a 7-4-2, and your partner plays the jack, and declarer wins that trick with the ace. And I've got the first poll of the evening for you, which is, who do you think has the queen of spades? Is it east, is it south, or can't you tell? And nearly all of you have said east, with some saying can't tell and one person saying south. And yes, it seems almost certain here, unless declarer is doing something very strange, that south does not have the queen. If south had the ace and the queen, and they had a chance to win the trick with the queen, you would think they would surely have done that, unless they were doing something quite strange, which we may come on to later. So normally you would expect that play to say that your partner has the queen. On the other hand, let's suppose you lead the same card. This time your partner plays the queen, and that loses to the ace. I've got the second poll for you now, which is, who has the jack? And this time you've nearly all gone for south, although a quarter of you have either said east or can't tell. And yes, of course, if your partner had the queen and the jack, they should have played the jack, the bottom of two touching honors. So in fact, the moment they play the queen, you know they don't have the jack. So that is useful information if you're in the 75% who understand the rules and who follow them with your partner. So we're going to see how you can make use of that information, and also sometimes how declarer can try to trip you up. So, in other words, in this situation, if your partner plays the queen, you now know that South has got the jack. What does that mean? Well, it means that this suit is now a dangerous suit for you to lead. If you gain the lead in another suit and decide to lead a spade, you're probably going to give declarer a trick with the jack of spades. On the other hand, this is a suit that's quite safe for East to lead. If East gains the lead in another suit, then they should switch to a spade, and then that traps the jack of spades in the south hand. So these are all inferences you can draw from the cards that are played, but only, of course, if you know the rules and if you and your partner follow them. Let's switch to a
Can
full
I
hand.
ask Tony,
Yeah.
is West wise to lead away from the king?
Oh, in
Normally,
this,
it's not,
in
not,
this.
not a favourite lead of mine.
Mhm. Well, I won't go into it in too much detail. That would be it's a slightly aggressive lead, especially if only from a four card suit. Um, on the other hand, you may not have much else you can lead, and it would not definitely not be an attractive lead against a suit contract. So against no trump, we often make more attacking leads, leading away from an honor, although you do have here two honors. But if that were a suit contract, that would not be such an attacking lead.
Yeah,
It would be,
okay,
it would be more
thanks.
attractive if I had a fifth spade. Okay. Anyway, that was that's a good observation, Morris. Let's have a look at a few hands here and looking at all four suits. And let's look at this one here where South has opened one club. You overcall the spade. North bids three clubs. South bids three, no trump. Here, by the way, we're playing ACOL bidding, although I think the bidding is probably very similar if you're playing any other system as well, such as standard or five card majors. Anyway, they end up in three no trump, and it's your lead. And in fact, that's the subject of the next poll. What do you think you should lead from the West hand? Have a little think about it. And I'd like you to think about the card and the suit that you think you might lead here. And there's an option for something else if you don't like any of those leads. And the most popular response, 81%, is the seven of spades, with others going for the eight or 10 of spades, and the four of diamonds and the eight of hearts are also chosen. So let's see. Well, obviously your best suit is spades. And you might be a bit put off leading a spade here based on the bidding because it sounds like South, even though they heard your one spade overcall has bid three no trump. So they almost certainly have a spade stopper there. Um, on the other hand, you don't have anything much else attractive to lead. And so I think I would lead a spade here. And if you do lead a spade, the correct spade to lead is your fourth highest. Yes, the seven would be the normal lead here. You don't have any kind of sequence. And against a no trump contract, it's fine to underlead an ace. Um, in other words, lead a suit that contains the ace in it. Just lead your fourth highest. What the other thing that you have on this hand is you have the ace of clubs here, which means you'll regain the lead at some point, and maybe declare has only got one spade stopper. So you lead the seven of spades. Down comes dummy, the three. Your partner plays the jack, and declarer wins this trick with the queen. And this is a very good moment for you to think about the spades and who's got the remaining high spades. And declarer then switches to a club. And let's suppose you go straight up with the ace of clubs on this one, win this first trick. I've got the next poll for you, which has two questions in it. The first question is, who has the king of spades? Is it south, east, or can't you tell? And what should you lead at trick three? Which suit are you going to lead at trick three? So the first part is, who do you think's got the king of spades? And which card are you going to lead having won the ace of clubs? Look at the results. And for the first part, most of you have said that you think South has got the king of spades. And in terms of what you should lead, most of you are leading a spade, either a low spade or the ace of spades, with 28% leading a heart and 3% leading a diamond. So let's switch back. And actually, let's just go back a couple of tricks. Well, when you lead a spade and your partner plays the jack, that means they don't have the king. If they had the jack and the king and they played the jack, they have made a mistake. So really, that play of the jack should tell you that declarer, yes, declarer almost certainly has the king. So when you gain the lead with the ace of clubs, it's actually probably quite dangerous for you to lead a spade. Knowing, unless that honor that South has is now a singleton and will drop under the ace, which, doesn't seem that likely, you should probably not lead a spade. Leading a spade here, either cashing the ace or playing a low spade, will almost certainly give declarer an extra trick with their king. So knowing what you know from the play, you should, I would say, not lead a spade at all at this point. In fact, if I bring up the four hands, you'll see the layout here. And if I click here on the GIB button, if it comes up, it will tell me that actually leading a spade is the worst thing to do. It will lead to one over trick to declarer. They'll make +1, whereas on any other play, they can be held to 9 tricks. So it's best not to lead a spade here. It gives declarer an extra trick, and I wouldn't lead the ace of spades or a low spade. I would switch to another suit, probably a diamond. As you can see, declarer's got the king, queen of hearts there. So if you switch to a diamond, actually declare at this point has to do the right thing, and they have to play the ace of diamonds to make this contract. The GIB button is telling us that if they play low, the contract can be defeated by 2 tricks, because what will happen is that East will win the king of diamonds, and they can switch back to a spade, which will trap the king of spades. But declarer can just make their contract if they go up with the ace of diamonds. Your partner plays the 9 here. That's a signal, a high to encourage. So that's very useful to you that they're encouraging in that suit. It probably means that you don't have to keep hold of your diamonds, as they've got a high diamond there. Declarer, however, gets in here, runs the clubs. You can't do anything about that. And they're going to make their contract because they've got 9 tricks now. They'll take their 9 tricks. Whatever they play now, you'll get it. Your partner will get in and can shift to a spade, and you'll hold declarer to 9 tricks on that one. You couldn't do any better on that one, but you would have let them make 1 over trick if you carried on with spades. So what's interesting on this one is that when you lead a spade and East plays the jack, declarer has a choice of which spade to play. And it's actually more deceptive for declarer to play the king here than, more deceptive if they play the king rather than the queen. Because if they play the queen, you should work out that they also have the king. But if, let's look at the hand again, play differently, but if they play the king, then West legitimately doesn't know who has the queen. It could be that East has it, or it could be that South has it. So this is an example of a deceptive play by declarer with the king and queen there with this holding. It's probably more deceptive to play the king than the queen. When you play the king, it hides the location of the queen. Let's try another one. And this was actually the one I sent out at the weekend. Playing a weak no trump. You go one no trump, three no trump. They lead a spade. And let's stop to count our tricks. We've got 4 clubs, 2 diamonds, and 2 spades. Those are our top tricks. We have 8 top tricks. Obviously, we're going to hope to make more in diamonds, but we're probably going to have to lose a trick in diamonds. And when we lose a trick in diamonds, because we're missing the queen and the jack there, we would quite like the opponents to continue with spades. In particular, we are weak in hearts. We don't really have much of a stopper at all in hearts. And we'd much rather that the opponents plug away at spades. So I have a choice here of winning with the ace in dummy or the king in my hand. And I think it's probably better to play the ace here. It makes spades look more attractive for the defense to lead if they can't see that any honors in dummy. So now let's suppose I play the diamonds by cashing the ace king, and then another diamond which loses to the queen. Now it's quite likely, seeing that weakness in dummy, that East will carry on in spades. But of course I've got the king, and now I can cross to dummy, take my 2 diamonds, and take the rest of my clubs. And played that way, I can make 10 tricks on that one. If I look at this hand again, but this is the same hand, but suppose I play low from dummy and win the first trick with the king. Now, if I play the same way, starting off with playing the diamonds, now looking at this from East's point of view, when East gets in now with the queen of diamonds, they should realize that the diamonds are now established and there's the ace of spades in dummy. So they may well decide not to go back to spades here, but to try to get some tricks somewhere else, perhaps in the heart suit. So if the layout is something like this, then they can cash some heart tricks. And indeed, depending on how declarer plays it, they might even be defeated. So if you play the ace and then the jack, that traps the queen there, and the defense could even defeat this contract, making those heart tricks. After that, declarer will get in and will claim the rest. But it was a choice of playing the ace or the king. And here, because I quite like the opponents to carry on in spades, I think I'm going to play the ace from dummy and make it look like my spade holding is really weak. Do interrupt me if you have any questions on that. And let's try this one. You open 1 spade, there's a 2 club overcall, North bids 2 spades, and you jump to 4 spades. You've only got 14 points, but you've got a 6 card suit. And the opponents start off with the ace of clubs. And I'd like you to think about your likely losers on this hand. In fact, that's the subject of the next poll. With fairly reasonable distribution, how many potential losers do you probably look at the results? And most of you have said 3, with a smaller number, 19% saying 4 and saying 5. Well, let's go through the suits one at a time. In spades, I'm unlikely to lose any tricks there because I've got 10 spades. I could conceivably lose to the queen, but that would require a very unfortunate distribution. So probably no spade losers. I'm not going to lose any hearts. I've got a doubleton opposite the ace king. I've got a diamond loser, and I've got 2 club losers. So yes, I agree with most of you who said you have 3 losers there. And it may seem there's not much you can do about that. Um, but in a situation like this, let's suppose they take their first two clubs and we rough that. We're going to start by drawing trumps, and suppose we start with the ace and the queen drops, so we're definitely not losing any spades there. We draw another round, that's all the trumps gone. And you might decide to play another suit now, but there's something to be said for just playing out all your spades. Um, and I'm going to just bring up the four hands as I do this. And we're going to see that East actually has got some difficulty in deciding what to discard. So as I play the spades, East might end up in this situation. Quite important here to now cash your very last spade to put the maximum pressure on East. So I'm going to play the King of Diamonds to get back to my hand and cash the last trump. Um, and you can see there's no sort of really good chance to make an extra trick with one of your tens, but you've got the 10 of hearts and the 10 of diamonds. And if the opponents discard poorly, maybe you'll make a trick. And you give them the chance to discard poorly by playing off all your trump here. And it may well be that East here discards the 9 of diamonds here because it looks like their Queen of hearts could be useful. So you now play off your last winning tricks. You play the ace and the king, and no one, and the queen is still out, so you're not going to play any more hearts. Instead, you play your turn back to diamonds. And here, when you play your ace, the jack and the queen both fall, and you make an extra trick there with the 10 of diamonds. So all you did there was play off all the trumps and gave the opponents a chance to discard poorly. And East really didn't have a very good idea about what to discard, and they may well have discarded their diamonds in order to keep the Queen of Hearts protected. What you should not do on this hand is rough hearts. So a lot of people on this hand might play it like this. The opponents take two clubs, and you play the spades as before, draw the last trump. And some declarers will see that ace king of hearts and will think, oh, I can ruff a heart. And indeed, you can ruff a heart here, but you haven't achieved anything. You've not achieved any extra tricks because you're ruffing in the hand with a long trump suit. In fact, all you're doing by playing a heart here is you're telling the opponents that you don't have any more hearts. They already know you don't have any more clubs because you ruffed earlier. So the only suit that is worth them keeping is diamonds. So now, if you try to put pressure on them by playing off all your trumps, you won't succeed because they will keep East will keep their Queen 9 of diamonds, and you'll make one trick less. You'll still make your contract, but you won't make that extra trick. So that was all about running off a long suit, but not giving the opponents um, any clues by roughing unnecessarily. And just want to have a look at this one as the very last one. And let's have a look at this one from declarer's point of view. They lead the 4 of spades against your 3 no trump contract. You opened 1 no trump, 2 clubs by North were Stamen, 2 diamonds by you were saying, I don't have a 4-card major. And you end up in 3 no trump. And they lead the 4 of spades. And we're going to stop to make a plan here. Well, that lead of a spade is very fortunate from my point of view because it gives me 2 spade tricks. No matter where the king is, I'm going to count that as 2 top spade tricks. I've got 4 top heart tricks, okay, and I've got 1 top diamond trick. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 top tricks, and obviously I can make more here in diamonds. And the way I'm going to play the diamonds is I'm going to finesse. So let's suppose you the play goes like this. They play the jack and you play the queen there. And let's actually bring up the four hands at this point, and you're going to try the diamond finesse. So you uh, you lead the heart to get over to diamond. You lead the queen of diamonds, trying to finesse the queen, but that loses to the king. And West now is on lead, and West now has to think about what they should lead. Well, if you remember, earlier on, you led a low spade, and Declarer, your partner played the jack, and Declarer won the trick with the queen. So you can deduce from that, as a defender, that South has got the ace of spades. And similar to the earlier hand we were looking at, if you carry on in spades, Declaro has got the ace and now has established the diamond suit and will be able to make the contract. So you might well decide not to carry on in spades, but instead perhaps to try another suit, perhaps to try the jack of clubs. And if you do switch to a club, you can actually defeat the contract because you're trapping the queen there. Your partner's got the ace king. They'll carry on in clubs, and your partner will be able to take the last club tricks and make five tricks then. And now Declarer will be defeated. Was there anything Declarer could do about that? Well, there's a very tricky play you might consider here, thinking about how this is going to go, which is when the jack is played, what you could do, instead of making the obvious play of winning with the queen, you could win with the ace. And this is a very slightly advanced deceptive play, if you like. But what you're trying to do is to fool West into thinking that East must have the queen here. Surely East must have the queen, because you wouldn't play your ace when you could have won it with the queen. So if we make that deceptive play and now play the hearts as before, and then try the diamond finesse, West will surely have been fooled by that play, assuming their partner now has the queen. They may well lead a spade and will be horrified when you win that one with the queen. And now you've got the hearts and the diamonds to take. So played that way, you will make, I think, 9 tricks there. In the end, the opponents are going to get in and will cash the spades and clubs to take the rest. But you'll make your 9 tricks there. So this is a quite an advanced, tricky play. I wouldn't normally recommend it unless you really understand what you're trying to fool West here, and you're thinking ahead. If that diamond finesse loses, you want them to carry on in spades instead of shifting to a club. So that's another example of a deceptive play there, and that's quite a brilliant play if you can pull it off.